Hi, I'm Ashton Guerin, and welcome to the first episode of Our Lives as Outdoorsmen in Maine. This episode focuses on hunting, and was going to try to get the youth excited to hunt, because over the past 15 years, the percent of people who get hunting licenses has gone down significantly. So I'm trying to do my part to make the youth excited to hunt and have them start to become hunters. Small game hunting opening day was September 26th, so I went to South Arm with my grandfather and we were looking for snowshoe hare, ruffed grouse, and gray squirrel. I ended up getting 4 ruffed grouse and 1 hare that day. Maine is divided into 29 different zones, and every year, once a year, you can put in for a lottery to get a moose permit. I put in for Zone 7, which only has 125 possible permits, and I was lucky enough to be one of the people chosen. So I got to go on a moose hunt. My moose hunt was guided by Northern New England Outfitters, and so I went out at 3 a.m. with my dad to go meet my guide at our spot. So it's 3 a.m. and we're driving to get to the spot on a dirt road, and someone beats us to the spot. And so whoever gets to a spot first gets to hunt there. So my guide is freaking out, and we end up driving another hour early in the morning to get to a new spot to go hunting. So we get to this other spot that's very deep in the woods, and we go out at like right at daybreak, and we start walking in the woods. About like half an hour goes by, and we see a moose in front of us. It stands up. It's a very, very small bull, so it's not one that we're looking to shoot, but it walks like 15 yards in front of me and is just staring at us. And the cow walks out right behind it. So we're standing here for like 20 minutes with these 2 moose just looking at us. They were like no further than 15 yards away from us. And after a while, they do end up walking away. They were never spooked. So once they walk away, we start walking again, trying to find another moose. So we're walking. It's another like hour of just straight up walking. My dad's like, I think I saw a moose. So we go and we look, and we don't see anything. So me and the guide walk through this very, very thick like brush to try to go see what was over there. And we come to this little spot where I can step on the up on the stump, and there's another small bull there. And I look to the left, and there's another cow like 100 yards away, looking away from me. So I stand there trying to see if there's a big moose around, and I couldn't find anything. So then we walk back slowly, just hoping that there was another moose in there. And we're like, oh, there was nothing. So we decided to take a break and start eating. So I'm having a granola bar as a snack, and all of a sudden I hear a twig crack behind me. So I look behind me, and there's this big bull moose walking in with its head down. So I'm like, there's a moose, there's a moose. And my guy looks up with his binoculars, and he starts screaming, it's a shooter, it's a shooter. So I still have this granola bar in my mouth, and I quickly get up, I'm freehand with my gun, and I wait for it to get into an opening, and I shoot it, and I hit it perfectly in the heart, and the thing went like 15 feet and fell backwards. Dead right there. My moose ended up being 820 pounds with a 48-inch spread, and that moose hunt was probably the best thing that's ever going to happen in my life. After it, I wanted to get a European mount for my moose head, but it was gonna be $600, so I did it with my grandfather, and that was a good bonding time with him. We had to strip off all the skin off the moose, then we had to put it in a boiling water for like a couple hours, and then we pressure washed it, and then we put it in the boiling water again, pressure washed it, and kept repeating that until it didn't have any more meat or anything in it. And then we put it in boiling hydrogen peroxide to whiten it up. And then we did one last pressure wash, boiled it in hydrogen peroxide again, and then sealed it with Elmer's glue. Whitetail deer hunting is one of the most popular forms of hunting in Maine. It's an annual tradition for most families, and at the start of November they head out into the woods. The whitetail hunting season starts November 1st and goes up until November 28th. Whitetail hunting is the first type of hunting I ever did, and it's a great way to get into nature and start your hunting journey. If you want to get into hunting, whitetail deer hunting is one of the most rewarding forms of hunting. If you are successful, you are rewarded with a tasty meal and sometimes a great trophy. I've been hunting since I was 10 and I haven't killed a deer before, so this season I put in a lot of hard work and dedication into getting my first buck. For this deer season I hunted at my grandparents' property. I would go hunting every Wednesday and Saturday and would go from sunrise till sunset. For the first part of the season I noticed some rubs and sign next to a ridge, so I went and made a blind and sat there. The video in the background is me walking down to the blind. I ended up never seeing any deer at the ridge, so I decided it was time for a new spot. This is a scrape I found on a tree. The next spot I tried hunting was on top of a hill overlooking a swamp. I didn't get anything here either. Seeing I had no luck, I tried a new spot for a couple weeks. It was right next to a swamp, and it had some pine trees. People think hunting is just the killing of an animal, but it's way more than that. In hunting, it's almost like a meditation. I get to sit there and be one with nature and just listen to the sounds and take in what's happening around me. Right here, I catch on camera a low flying plane as it flies over me. I didn't end up seeing any deer this day, but a lot happened in the woods. Coming up in a second, I heard something behind me, and it ended up being an owl. That's an owl. There in that tree. This day of hunting was the first day of the rut. So I went back to the first spot I went to look to see if there was a buck coming back to his sign. On this day, I didn't see any deer, but my grandfather saw a deer and couldn't get a shot on it because it ran away before he got a chance. The next day I went hunting was November 18th, and this was the day of me getting my first buck. I was sitting there, it was about 8:30 in the morning, and I heard a deer, and I ended up getting a shot on it. I ended up getting 2 shots into it, and it died almost instantly. It's a spike buck, so it's not the biggest buck, but I'm looking for food, not for trophies. I had to gut the deer with my grandfather and then drag it up to a place where he could take the four-wheeler to pull it the rest of the way out. My grandfather and I processed our deer ourselves. So, we went and skinned it, which took a couple hours. Which for that, we just take the skin off with a knife to expose the meat. After we fully skinned it, we then had to cut the meat off into sections to get steaks and pieces to put into a meat grinder for hamburger. To make hamburger, we added pieces of meat that we couldn't use to make steaks from the deer, and we mixed it with some beef, seeing that deer meat is very lean and it doesn't stick to itself very well, and you need fat for hamburger. So we threw it all in a grinder to mix it up to make the hamburger. We then freezer wrapped all the meat so it would last longer for storage. Another reason for hunting is pest control. The week before, my friend's dog attacked a porcupine and had to get surgery to get the quills removed. So we're out squirrel hunting and we saw a porcupine, so we decided to dispatch it to get out of the way from his dogs. The final piece of hunting I did this year was coyote night hunting. Coyote night hunting is important because it takes away the invasive coyotes that kill many deer and animals around Maine. So, my friend's grandfather's chickens were getting eaten by coyotes at his house, so we went out trying to hunt them. In Maine, if you buy a permit, you're allowed to go out night hunting for coyotes with a flashlight, and you have to have a coyote call. So we went out there at like 7 o'clock and we stayed out till midnight. Coyote night hunting is very fun, but it's also very difficult. This was our first time ever doing it, so we didn't end up being successful. But next year we would like to be able to night hunt successfully.